All right, today we're going to go over 3 simple Google AdWords mistakes to avoid making in your accounts. Just wanted to put together a quick video for this is really for beginners. I mean, if you've been using Google AdWords for a while, these are pretty obvious things, but I just wanted to go over some different things that can really make your AdWords campaigns go off the rails quickly. Things that I learned kind of the hard way when I started to take over accounts and manage accounts. So just a quick thing, 3 simple AdWords tips. I mean, these are if you're an experienced advertiser, you might say, oh, these are really easy, but these can save you thousands upon thousands of dollars. I've seen accounts absolutely destroyed because of some of these mistakes, so it's definitely something you want to consider and take advantage of. So the first one is search network with display select. This is one of the options they give you when you're setting up campaigns, and it's actually the default option for Google AdWords, where for some reason they have this. The search network and the display network are so much different than each other that running any campaign on both of them at the same time doesn't make sense. Because on the search network, when you target keywords, you're targeting user intent. You're targeting what people are typing in real time. It's definitely more of a real time on the search network where you're trying to solve their problem then and there right away. Whereas the display network is a little bit more of like a long term. It's used a lot for branding. As far as direct response, you do use it for direct response, but it just your campaigns perform so much differently. In particular, keyword targeting, which is popular on the search network, the keywords that it's targeting on the display network is way different. It's not what people are typing in. It's more what websites match those keywords. So you might have a keyword like baseball that matches, ESPN.com, but it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's typing in looking for baseball tickets. So just because your ad's showing with baseball tickets on ESPN.com doesn't mean that person's looking for it. So here's my example here. So when you set up a campaign, so I have to do this small here, but when you set up a campaign, this red campaign button, they'll put best opportunity to reach the most customers. You don't want to reach the most customers. You want to reach the right customers. So don't do search network with display select. Instead, opt for search network only or display network only because it gives you more control over everything and it's a lot easier to manage everything that you're doing. So search network with display select, definitely something you want to avoid. All right, so number 2 here is going to be no conversion tracking or campaign tracking. So when you set up your account and everything, one of the first things you want to do is set up your conversions. So basically, your key performance indicators, your KPIs, what you're optimizing for, whether that's sales, whether it's someone filling out a contact form, a lead form, maybe it's someone visiting a specific page, maybe it's someone who views one product and views another. There's so many conversions. So it's not just tied to one thing or the other. Could be phone calls. But ultimately, the reason you're running an AdWords campaign is to achieve some sort of goal. You don't really just want to send traffic to your website, traffic to your mobile app. You really want to send conversions. You want to drive sales. You want to get new leads. You if you're spending money to drive a customer to your website and they just leave and that happens over and over and over again, you're basically wasting money because unless you have a long-term plan set up in place, you're just having people visit your website and leave, and it's costing you money instead of visiting your website and taking action that ends up turning into more revenue for your business. So, no conversion or campaign tracking is a huge, huge issue I see. Conversion tracking, pretty easy actually. So, this is not an account I use often, so I don't actually have conversions set up here. But all you do is you go into Tools and you click on the Conversions tab, and it'll bring you right into here. If you have conversions, it'll show them here. Otherwise, if you need to add a conversion, you just click the red conversion button. There's different things, phone calls, so app downloads, website, whether that's purchases, form submissions. And you can also track offline conversions too. So basically, there's ways that you can say, okay, this person looked up my location online and then they came into my store and bought, a new laptop or something along those lines. So they're pretty easy to set up. If you select the website, you name your conversion. You can do a value if you want. Count every conversion, conversion windows, categories, so different things, and then you can import conversions, especially if you have your Google Analytics and Google AdWords accounts linked, which I highly recommend. You can import conversions, things that are goals in Google Analytics. You can import directly into AdWords and optimize for them. So it's pretty I mean, really easy to manage. I mean, Google makes it really easy for everyone to set up their KPIs and optimize for them. So, along with conversion tracking is campaign tracking. So number two is two different things. But if you, like I said before, if you connect your Google Analytics and Google AdWords accounts, you can actually set up, conversion and campaign tracking at the same time. So campaign tracking will show the statistics for every keyword, every ad group, every campaign you're running, everything that you're doing. Campaign tracking will show, and conversion tracking will show, what is driving results. So really, you want to use them together. So highly recommend using conversion tracking and campaign tracking right away so you can monitor everything. Now, last but not least, the third mistake is only bidding on broad match keywords. So there's four different keyword match types. There's broad match, there's modified broad match, there's exact match, and there's phrase match. So exact match is the easiest to understand. So it's the exact keyword. So if I type in white sneakers, it somewhat, my keyword's white sneakers, someone has to type in white sneakers. For phrase match, it's similar to exact, except it's just a phrase. So let's say I'm targeting the phrase white sneakers and someone types in new white sneakers, then it's going to show up because I targeted that phrase. But if they do white basketball sneakers, then it's not going to show up. Modified broad match keywords, you can basically say, I want the word white and I want the word sneakers to be in my, to be part of someone's search query. So then it matches all sorts of things, but you're at least narrowing it down to two words. So you could say, white basketball sneakers or, white Nike sneakers, all sorts of different things, and they'll all match because white sneakers is in the search query. Whereas broad match, if you're targeting white sneakers, you might match for football cleats. You might match for basketball sneakers. You might match for, kids sneakers. All sorts of random things that are somewhat related but not exactly related, which turns into a big issue because the less targeted everything is within your campaign, if you're driving someone, to a page full of Nike sneakers when they're looking for new soccer cleats, they're going to be confused and they're not going to convert. So broad match keywords basically make your campaigns less targeted and less relevant on a grand scale. And to show an example here, so I have a call only campaign just to show, and I've already added four different keywords here. So here's the broad match version. So you'll see there's no brackets, there's no plus signs, there's no quotes, there's nothing around it. It's just a broad match keyword. So this is going to match all sorts of search queries. It could be, AdWords company. It could be best PPC advertising service. So it's going to match all sorts of things that might be related or might not be related. You might have PPC software come in. It might be all sorts of things. Whatever AdWords says, oh, well, that's somewhat related, they're going to throw in there. And usually your campaign just goes off the rails. PPC management agency. So right here, this is a phrase match keyword. So this phrase has to be in the user's search query. This is an exact match keyword with the brackets around it. So it would have to be literally exactly this keyword and search query have to match each other. And this here is a modified broad match keyword. So basically what I'm saying is every word with a plus sign in front of it has to be in the user's search query. So it could be PPC management agency in Boston. It could be PPC AdWords management agency. It could be the absolute best PPC management agency in New York City. This is going to match with all of those, whereas some of the other match types might not. Now, as far as bidding, just while I'm over here, what you want to do is set up a cascading bid strategy where you're bidding the most for exact match and you're bidding the least for modified broad match, because this is going to be your most targeted keyword. So you might bid $15 here, and this is going to be a little bit less targeted, so you might bid $14 here. Because the exact match version, and you can adjust this as you go, you might find the exact match version isn't profitable for you and you just get rid of it altogether. So that's three simple Google AdWords mistakes to avoid. They're things you learn early on in the process, but hopefully I taught you something today. If you just set up your account, make sure you're using, avoid search network with display select. Make sure you set up conversion and campaign tracking, and make sure you're bidding on, a mix of exact and modified broad match keywords, even phrase match if you want as well. But I would avoid broad match altogether unless you have a huge account. So thanks for joining us today, and hopefully you learned something.